So who would have thought that this week's episode that was so full of love and cheer and just happy moments, I mean, yes, there was definitely some dramatic, don't get me wrong, but this was a pretty positive episode, all things considered. And then we end the episode with, what is that? What is that Hanako? Is that our Hanako? Is that a different Hanako? What is going on with this girl? And you know damn well when Yashiro gets into that rumored door and she finds the book, she's opening up the red book, right? I mean, if you're saying there's one type of book you don't touch and you're looking for something relating to Hanako, you know damn well it's probably going to be in a red book and everything's going to go to shit. And I'm excited for that. Like, I don't know where they want to go with the concept of, is there another Hanako when you, like, wish for something or ask for something? Do you get your own version of Hanako? Is that why she was talking about how, like, how's yours like? Because she has her own and Yashiro has her own, like, that's what I love about the concept of this show, is that you don't totally know where it wants to go. Because they'll give you a rumor and say, okay, and we're looking at what we have, we're like, okay, that kind of matches with the rumor, but it's a little different for sure. But because it's a rumor and because this is a world full of mystery and you don't totally know where it wants to go, they have so many possibilities to take just the idea of your main character and turn him into 1,000 main characters where he's the same one just in a different place at a different time. Like, I don't know where they want to go at the end of the episode, and that makes me incredibly excited and a little bit worried about the future of this show, and I think they have a ton of possibilities, not to mention with the whole, like, Darren Koh situation. I mean, he was getting a little happy with his new group of friends. He thought, you know, this was a horrible person, but clearly, you know, Hanako's been a good guy. He's been helping him and things like that, but, you know, when your brother comes and knocking saying, hey, we hunt these aberrations, and I'm gonna do it myself, or okay, if you want to do it, I'll give you a little more time. Like, you understand, like, where he's coming from, because if your life has been grown up, like, you hunt ghosts, you hunt rumors that are going to cause people issues, and you can't even blame them. I mean, look at the amount of times that Hanako and Yashiro have come into contact with something that looks like something pulled from a Stephen King book, right? Like, that's pretty horrible, right? You understand why you would hunt it, but at the same time, should you get to know certain things, maybe you understand there's a different side, as if there's two sides to every coin. So, like, on one hand, I can think, okay, like, clearly, stop your brother, he's completely delusional, but then on the other hand, I think, well, I can't even argue that sometimes I can understand why someone would rather put out a ghost rather than try to hold its hand and turn it into a cute little bunny or a cute little tree that you want to plant in your garden. So, like, I understand that, but it definitely makes me worried, but also completely optimistic, because we have two sets of conflict that can really propel this story forward going into the back half of this first season. I think they have a lot of possibilities, and just, I don't know where exactly they want to go. I may have my ideas, my theories, and speculations, but clearly, based on the end of the episode, seeing potentially another Hanako, I don't know exactly where it wants to go, and that makes me so excited that this isn't going to rely on being a one-trick pony, but actually having a lot of ways to propel the story forward and just do something we can't totally predict. And this episode was adorable. Like, yes, there was conflict towards the end, but I mean, this was all surrounding a love tree, right? You know, we're getting into this time of the year where corporations are trying to make Valentine's Day look all, oh, look how lovey-dovey it is, give us our money to really show your love. It's a lot of fake bullshit, but we're getting into that time of the year where some people buy into the Valentine's Day hype, and to have an episode that actually is like, oh, there's no corporate bullshit, just like actually people confessing their love. Sure, it's matchmaker, you're forcing love upon people, and if you deny it, you know, I mean, this tree is going to make sure you are actually together. But still, out of everything that we've seen in terms of conflict, this was the most sweet conflict, I have to say. Like, a tree making couples, and I love how you have one of Yashiro's friends who pretty much is like, everyone wants to confess to her, and she has so many boys being like, oh, I love you, I want to go out with you, and she just shuts them down. And I love how disappointed and shocked she is when someone who has been confessing to her, she has no love for him, but she's kind of grown accustomed to this, like, romance being thrown her way. After that tree is, like, basically having, like, these two boys pretend, kind of like building up the courage of how he'll ask, I love how they just announce that we're actually going to be a couple, and how disappointed she is that, you know, the person that was coming after her has now switched teams, and now she's missing that, like, oh, I kind of liked how he was trying to confess his love, and now I don't have that. That was probably the best part of this episode, I'll be honest. It was so just like, I did not see it coming, but I loved it all in the process. And I mean, I don't think many people are probably going to think that, like, Hanako was actually trying to confess in this moment. Like, when you hear about a rumor, like, immediately I'm thinking, oh, like, he's clearly inviting her because he wants to basically set in motion this, like, tree or this ghost, whatever it's going to be, to say, okay, we're now going to fight it. But I understood why she kind of bought into it and how she was just really thirsty for love from anyone. And that was like kind of her entire point in this episode, was she was just like, I don't care who it is. I don't even like Hanako. He's not my type. He's not tall enough. He's not manly enough. But hell, man, I'm kind of happy, right? And you understand it, right? She's someone she's at that age. She wants romance, and she'll take it from anyone. And that can be a dangerous thing. But I like how by the time it kind of like wraps up and she realizes that she was being foolish, I like how they handled that. I truly thought like she would be a little heartbroken, but she would just kind of walk away, get over it, and maybe they'd bring it up every so often, something like that. But I wasn't expecting her to like full on cry and for Hanako to admit that he was an idiot. Because when he kissed her on the cheek, like, yeah, I mean, I thought that was just him being a troll, but he was actually placing a shield to protect her, and that happens in this episode. Without it, she probably would have got a tree fist to her face, right? So I like how instead of just going down what could have easily been the cliche route of basically him just being like, oh, get over it, and just being a little bit of a troll, he immediately like admitted that he was a fool. And he's like, hey, stay here until you're done crying. He was actually a really good friend in that moment, realizing that he actually misled someone that he cares for and wanted to make sure that she didn't go home crying. And that was a really powerful moment because, as she mentions, that's pretty much the first time that she looked at him and said, I actually want to get to know him even more. And I love how after that moment, they just go back into such a typical Hanako moment of just her asking so many questions to the point that you think she's trying to get into like his email account, right? Like, what's your mother's date of birth? Okay, what's your blood type? What's all this information? It's a pure comedy moment, but I think it was the perfect way to transition after such a heavy moment, which I absolutely love. They could have easily made it just so cliche and basic, like, okay, like she quickly got over it, or she was mad but he didn't understand the feelings because he's been dead for so long, hasn't had human contact. I like how they made him a very believable person in that moment, because if Hanako truly does care about her, he would feel bad, and I love how he did feel bad. And combined with how, like, she basically gets asked, what's your Hanako like, in terms of, like, behavior, like, no, Hanako's not needy, like, what's going on? There's so many ways to take his rumor, either by, like, giving him multiple versions of himself, or just, like, I don't even know, there's so many ways to take that, and what will happen if there absolutely are multiple versions, or he switches personality depending on who he's with, like, that could like ruin or just make their bond even stronger. And I love how they're bringing up this like will they won't they romance subplot without forcing it down your throat. Like, obviously it's there, obviously she's growing some feelings for Hanako and Hanako growing some feelings for her, but I like how they're handling it in a fairly mature manner despite seeing so much absurdity at multiple points in this episode and just series in general. And when you get that, like, the conflict was, once again, it was pretty much just him attacking something. It was pretty flashy, there was a couple of funny moments and horrifying moments, but I like how, once again, it didn't feel like the same thing that we've seen before. Like, that's something that this show is hitting out of the park, is that it's not feeling complacent, it's not feeling like it has a formula and it's just going to run with it, which you often see with a yokai series. Often yokai series are kind of surrounded by a slice of life banner, where this is more of like a horrifying, a comedy, a slice of life mystery. Hanako has a lot of genres and styles that it's working with, but a lot of time with the yokai, they just kind of feel like they understand that they don't have to spice up their formula because it's a slice of life, it's the daily lives, these are just how these characters act. They're not really worried about making each ghost and how they pop up feel visually different or stylistically different, things like that. But with Hanako, you can compare the stairs, you can compare the love tree, everything about it, it doesn't feel that familiar in the slightest. On surface level, you could explain how they came to the rumor, how they're changing the rumor, how they're dealing with the rumor. Sure, that's a little different, but at the end of the day, in terms of how they're executing the formula, how the characters are growing or separating, it is completely different 100% of the time, and I love that about this show. The entire reason that this show is flourishing as much as it is, and why I'm hoping we get a second season, isn't because of the character personalities or just the idea of the story, but the fact that it feels fresh every single week. And honestly, I think that's why this show is going to be a lot of people's anime of the season. Obviously, if you read the source material, a lot of people were probably going to say it anyway because they were hyping up the adaptation. But the fact that this show understands that it needs to find new ways to feel fresh and exhilarating nearly every single week, whether that is just character interactions, introducing a new mystery and potential of how the story could continue to flourish, that's the reason that this show slaps so hard. And every time I leave an episode, I'm just thinking to myself, I want to see more. I want to see the next episode. I want to see where it's going to go. I think about the conflict that could happen next week with the whole idea of the door popping up at 4 p.m. and how that red book is definitely getting opened. We got the whole brother on brother conflict. We then have a girl who has her own Hanako possibly. Like, this show has so many ideas, and even when it's basic, even when it's flirty, even when it's, funny or horrifying, it never feels the same, and that's why I love it so damn much. And I leave an episode just thinking to myself, I can't wait to see where it's going to go. I love this episode, and I really don't know where they want to go, and that's a very exciting feeling, but as always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, be it for source material readers, anime originals like myself. Let me know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.